Welcome everybody. This is week 2 of the Android Bootcamp, third edition. So this week I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Android environment. So last week was just a basic introduction, how to create your first app, which was just basically creating a new project, following the instructions, and just compiling something. So this week we're going to learn a little bit more. We're going to learn about text fields, some buttons, and so forth. So what I wanted to do is kind of explain Android Studio itself a little bit more. So as we know, once we click new project, we start a new project, we have all these options here. And it can be a little overwhelming at first because you see so many options, so many different things that you are able to do with Android development, but at the same time it's pretty exciting as well. So I'll start off with some of the basic information. So at the bottom here we have design view, which you see this nice pretty view of your phone. Comes up hello world automatically for you. This is new right here with the little mail icon. Before it wouldn't have like a message icon at the bottom. Then you have this other one here is a text view. As you see, what's interesting is with the Android development, they use XML as their background, where you do iOS is a little bit different. They're not using the XML, but as you see here, you have the option of doing either text view or design view. Design view makes it nice and easier for you to develop stuff. These options over here is your layouts, your widgets, your text fields, and so forth. As you see, if you scroll down, you have all these different options, containers, expert, etc. These are just objects or controllers that allow you to drag and drop onto the screen and make your life a little bit easier. Right now, as far as I know, these are the only ones that are available with an Android. I am sure there's third-party companies out there developing their own controllers and making that a third-party download to allow you to make things work a lot quicker versus coding it. Another thing is, as you see over here, is your application. You have app. You have these little folders. These are your main folders on every time. You get your manifest. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. You get your Java, which is your application, your Java code that you'll be programming in. Then you scroll down to your res folder. These right here are kind of like it'll be your layout. As you see your activity page, drawable will be a location that you'll learn about where to put images at. You have your menu, values, and values are something that you'll learn later on, which is just XML. So when you're going to use values somewhere in your app, you'll go in here and code it. So we'll talk about that later. And the same thing with the scripts we'll talk about. But just wanted to kind of show you somehow the way of using this screen. You could drag and move stuff around, as you've seen here. Where are we at? So you can make it however you want to make it, whatever helps you see the screen better. Now at the bottom here, I have everything kind of, you see where it's condensed down. But if I click this guy here, you see it brings up options. We have messages, terminal. Terminal is basically a Unix background. You can type in commands. You have messages, which will tell you what messages that you'll receive. You have the Android monitor. This one right here will be very helpful once you start building an app, because then it measures everything. As you see here, it'll measure the memory, the CPU, etc. The network is running. What's very helpful about this later on is if you're developing some awesome app or a big app, or your $1 million idea, whatever the case is, you can monitor how much memory it's using. You can monitor to kind of predict statistics on whether your app is eventually going to blow up or if it's going to cause problems down the road and whatever. Because sometimes we've all seen where we've downloaded an app and we started using it and all of a sudden it just goes out and crashes. That could be due to a number of things, a problem within an app, or it could be ran out of memory or CPU or whatever. So this is something that we'll learn about, and you'll see how it works. You may have noticed it when you did create your first app, and then you have a to-do. But the kind of condensed on space, you could just move these arrows right here and move it around. So if you want it again, you can just click back and so forth. So it allows you to do that to build more room for your screen. So that's a little bit about how the screen works. Some of the different options up here that we have you see here, this right here is a list of all your different APIs. So when you originally went into Android and added everything, there was kind of get off topic here, the SDK area, which looks a little bit different on mine. This is the newer one. Before it looked a little bit different. They keep changing it, but nonetheless, the more SDKs that you have, because you could go out and download all the different versions, it just gives you more capability of doing different things. So when you're downloading the different versions that you have on your computer, the more you have, the better. But you know, the most recent one is the 6.0, the Marshmallow. But the thing is about that, it's like anything else. The older versions will run on most of the phones, where the newer version's only going to run on like a very small percentage of the phone. But what I personally like about this right here, is very similar to iOS development. iOS is a little bit you know, more control, because it's based off that phone or that device, where Android is kind of very hard to control, because Android is an operating system that could be on multiple phones that are not Google owned. They could be on Samsung, they could be on LG, etc. All these different phones are different brands, but they had different operating systems. So in this case, if someone developed an operating system that has 4.3, you could go back to 4.3 and see what it looks like. You'll see here the rendering. If you notice here, the graphics preview and the layout editor may not be accurate. That's only just because there might be problems with that version. So you know, it allows you to go back and forth. So I'll go back to 15 here. I don't think I was in 15. I must have been 23. All right, I was in 23. It allows you to decrease the size of the phone that you're working with as you go in and out. So it kind of gives you a lot of cool, neat options there. So we talked about design view. We talked about the left with components and widgets. Show you how to center stuff. So here's the nice thing about this. So let's say, for example, we're going to use a widget. We'll use a large widget, large text. As you see, when you hover over it, it displays the text. You could just drag and click. Now, as you see, when I'm dragging and clicking, is at the top it says center horizontal, below generated margin equals 81 dp. See it, and look over to my right where it has the component tree. Things are going to change in a minute. So I'm going to center something there. And over here, as I did that, it added this information. Now I could click on that large text and type in, I'll just say Super Bowl. Today's Super Bowl. Super Bowl 50. So I type in Super Bowl 50. Look at that. It's right there. Now let's say I wanted to, you see these options over here, the properties. These right here are your basic options. It allows you to make different changes. So let's say hypothetically I wanted to change the background. This is how easy it is. You click on the background. You come up here and select color. And you select what color you want it. Now I don't remember what color Super Bowl is today. We'll just come here and make it like a light color like that. Hit OK. And once I click off of it, now I have that. Now I could change the, see when you click on it, it tells you what string it is. Now you can move it around as well. If you drag it up, see how it changes. It changed it up here. So we made a Super Bowl 50. You could also, if you want to make different changes to your style, you could come over here, choose that. There's a system style, so you can make changes in here. I'm going to cancel. Let's see what else. You could do a numerous amount of things here. You could add background tint. You can make it clickable. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Foreground tint. There's so many different options that you can add. As you see, there seem that you could change the size of it if you want to. A number of different things. But that is just a basic idea of how to make some changes. Now, as you know, within this week's assignment, I'm looking at week 2, you're going to be doing like a menu of some sort. So, you know, you might have a button here. So if you need to, I can't even talk. If you need to grab a button, you could just drag it. Once again, as you see where the arrow goes at, oops, move it up. Now we have a button here. So it allows us to move the button around. We could change the button. It's called new button. We might want to call it something else. We might want to call it submit. Oops, can't type. And then you just click out of it, and now the button's called submit. Pretty simple for starters. And then if I go back over to my text mode, as you see, everything was created. So you have another option to do stuff. So let's say hypothetically, I don't want to do drag and drop and I want to write code. You could come in here and write code if you want to. As you see, it has Intellisense. So once you start typing stuff in, it automatically picks it up. So I'm going to do wrap content. I could come up here and I could highlight all this stuff and basically copy it in and so forth. But it just gives you an example. You could do it that way, or you could do it design view. It's up to you, however you want to do it. So this is just an introduction to week 2. Hopefully that helps out. Thanks for attending the session.